of guy.
Yeah, that's one of those
Fucking
things.
basic.
Like it's not a burrito is when you want to know you're fat. Like when you get carne asada fries, carne asada nachos, you want to tell everyone around you, like, hey, look, I eat, motherfucker,
Yeah.
and I eat that shit all the time.
You're listening to the Bent Motorsports Podcast with the owner of Bent Motorsports, David Beckett, and his crew, Jacob Hunsinger, James Hernandez, and Jake Russo. Listen in as the guys discuss all things motorsports, including tech tips and current shop projects.
So we're here now. There's a lot of projects going on. A lot of things happening. It's just the same old, Bent Motorsports crew trying to keep stupid shit alive. We got diesels, we got Explorers, we got a Jeep. We have vehicles that have spent like more time, on lifts
Taking up shop space.
than they have actually driving or being.
Let's
garage.
talk about our projects just so everybody's up to date on it, since it's been since Christmas. Before I think we did the last one was 2-3
Nobody
months ago,
listens to
right?
that one anyways.
Nobody listens to any of these.
Good.
But we are gonna
Good.
we do
But
have
if
a
you are.
subject that we want to talk about on this one, and it will be about the big question, right? We get a customer walks in the door, he's got a Jeep or she's got a Jeep and it's stock, and they want to run 35s. I mean, that's it, right? They come in the door, I want to run 35s. What do I got to do, right? So we'll talk about the lifts. Now, this is a question that comes up all the time, and we actually had one of our friends in Arizona, and he listens to our podcast, Tim. If you guys want to check him out, his Instagram is RescueCon, but it's ResQCon, I believe. RES.
Oh, he's a convict?
No, I don't know. Maybe.
That's...
Tim, are you a convict?
Hey, man.
Either way, welcome to the club. So ResQCon, and his name is Tim. Anyways, he's from Arizona. He's the one who gave us all the advice when we went to Sedona, and we were actually supposed to wheel with him when we went out there. But
Oh, that was good info.
yeah, I believe he was working, so it just didn't pan out right. And he's got another trail he wants us to go out there and wheel with him on. So one day we'll actually get out there and meet him and wheel with him. But just following him on Instagram, he's got a lot of cool stuff going on. But anyways, he gave us the same question. He said, hey, everybody always wants to know what to do with their Jeep. Maybe you guys can talk about just the basics of what people need to look for. He wanted us to go into like differences between 3 links, 4 links, radius arms, that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of slam out all that information in a minute. That's so thanks, Tim, for messaging us and keeping us moving on topics and forcing us to do another podcast.
Bastard.
We do like doing them. We just
I really want to talk about that topic because there's so many things to talk about. But like,
God, there's
I
so
mean,
many things
like
to talk
I'm
about.
just already like in my head. I haven't even thought about this all day, but already I'm like, gotta talk about this. Gotta talk about this.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Is we shy away from talking about the things that we hear every single day, right? It's for us. It's like, well, I go through this every single day with people.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, this is what I need to talk about. This is what a podcast is for. But before we jump into that, let's jump into everything that's in the shop. So my Jeep is finally out of the shop, and I'm actually driving it. We finished the coilover conversion on my 2006 LJ. So
How
now
long was it on the lift this time?
Yeah, let's go into
Yeah.
7.5 months.
7.5 months.
Hey, I blame COVID for that.
Yeah, it's all COVID's fault.
Oh, God.
So it all started with I needed to rebuild my transmission and snowballed
did you?
into now I have
did
37s
you?
and coilovers.
You didn't need to rebuild the transmission. Probably would have been perfectly fine for another year.
Oh, maybe, but I
But-
believe in preventative maintenance.
No, but in your defense, like if you would have gone on the Rubicon again with that
Yeah,
transmission,
he would have
it
got
probably would've-
kenned.
Yeah, you would have
Oh.
got kenned.
His
Yeah.
ass
You'd have
would've
got Johnson.
kenned, for sure.
Yeah, so
He would've-
I'm actually glad I
Oh,
did it.
God.
I'm not bummed that I rebuilt the transmission.
No, it's got a 6 shift kit, too.
Yeah, dude, twin sticks.
Oh, the shift kit, yeah.
Oh.
Well, what they did was I was talking to them over there at Transmasters, and essentially all they're doing in there is they're just bringing up the pressures a little bit everywhere. So makes it hold the gear a little longer, apparently. I don't know.
Twisting and turning things
Yeah.
a little bit.
2 little
Like,
knobs
with
right
your,
in front of
kinda
you.
with
If you-
with your thumb and your pointer finger
Yeah,
together.
just
both
twisting
at
those
the same
knobs.
time.
So I don't know what they did. That's the transmission guru guys. So we just let them deal with that. But mine's driving around again. I'm driving around. I'm breaking in the gears, and hopefully in another month or so we'll get up to John Bull and do a shakedown run and see how it works.
Because
Yeah.
we went through a whole slew of things. It wasn't just transmission rebuild. It was
No, so transmission rebuild. I added a Ruby crawler. I replaced every gasket on the engine, new O2 sensors, new catalytic converters. We re-geared it to 488, put 37s on it, converted it all to coilovers.
wheel spacers.
Yeah, because I wasn't doing. So I really like my wheels, and they're OMFs, and they're really bitchin'. And I just, after spending all this money on all these upgrades, I wasn't willing to also buy brand new wheels. So
Yeah.
I put wheel
That makes
spacers on
sense.
it. F it, man. Come down and argue with me about it one day.
Yeah.
If you guys hate them, then just come down and
Say
tell me how
something
much
to
you hate them.
I hate
I know you hate them, but
But it's funny because all three of our vehicles have them on right now.
Oh, God, I know. Fuck.
So I guess the other vehicle. Well, Jake, your engine blew up. We talked about that last.
Yeah,
time,
I think we
right?
talked about that.
So you got that running again,
But
but now you've got a diesel truck.
yeah,
doesn't work.
it's in the process of coming to being on the road here. But basically, like, I'm kind of halfway through the whole process right now. I'm still waiting on the title for my Jeep and all the intricate parts of doing a trade with somebody. So as of right now, I have the truck in my possession. The guy was nice enough to let me have it, and he gave me the title to it and basically said, here you go. That way I can get it running by the time I get the title and give him the Jeep. So I started diving into it, and it's been more than I expected, you know?
Which is exactly what you should expect.
Which is exactly what I should have expected. You know, you dive into something and there's oil leaks. When I say oil leaks, these have been oil leaks for probably months and years now. So there's like this 1-inch thick film of, like, I don't even know what it is, just oily garbage, like, on all the skid plates and everything. Like, yeah, just real thick stuff. So the last, like, week and a half or so, I've just been pressure washing everything I possibly can, getting everything cleaned up. I have the transmission out of it right now. It's getting a new clutch. It's getting a new transmission. And then changing all the gaskets that are leaking. There's hoses that are leaking. Oil changes. Diff gear fluid is going to be all changed out. So I'm hoping it's like fresh when it's ready to go.
So basically, he's giving it a little birthday.
It's getting a birthday. Getting a big birthday. So. And it's cleaned up. Like, I fixed the seat. The seat was broken, you know, like there's like a little metal frame under there that just broke. And so I took it all out, welded that back together, which was kind of tricky because it was all TIG welding and like really small, thin sheet metal. So you really got to like jam a bunch of filler in there. But it worked out okay. So it's just doing all the nitpick stuff that I know I'm not going to do later. Maybe the seat I would, because I would be driving it every day. But
yeah, dude, you would hate that.
yeah, it was sitting on a cinder block too. You know, like one side of it was broken off, and so they had it held on, or like kept it from falling down by putting a cinder block under it.
David's
So I'm
truck
like-
was the same way.
Yeah, it was, right?
Yep,
And then
for
we
a
put
while.
smart car seats in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Custom frame.
Dude,
Yeah.
when that seat broke, I remember I was driving to the desert when that seat
Oh,
broke.
that
Had my trailer
sucks.
hooked up, and all of a sudden my seat breaks, and I just go flipping straight back into the back seat. I'm like, holy Jesus!
You were even in the Narrows?
No, luckily I was in that flat area just before you'd make the left to go down Ranchita.
Oh, okay.
That nice
Yeah.
wide open area. Thank
That's
goodness.
nice.
A nightmare.
But yeah, so we'll see. I'm hoping to get the title here soon so I can finish the deal, and we're moving on. So I know Jake has some stuff he needs to tell you about his
Yeah, but I don't
low
think you
rock.
really explained, like, what is your goal here? Like, what spurred you? You
No,
kind of just
you know-
went right on past the subject of why you took a Jeep that worked fine, was John Bull, was basically Rubicon capable, you know, other than
It
the
was-
front
it was
axle that
close.
needed a little bit of,
Yeah, it
loving.
was
But
super close to being
what
Rubicon
spurred
ready.
the going from, 100-inch wheelbase or whatever it is to like 138,
44,
144,
Yeah, it's big.
And what's your
Real
goal
big.
here? Well, you got to make a promise to the people right now of like, what are you gonna do with this?
This
Yeah,
is
this
my
is
this
what's-
is my swear into the club.
Yeah,
Well,
like, are
this
you
is-
gonna actually chop this thing, or are you gonna lowrider it and be a
That'd be-
hound?
I saw one last night on Facebook Marketplace that was all slammed. It was a extended cab, long bed, and it was like the thing looks like a land yacht because
Hell
second
But
yeah.
look at
low
the
or
sign
something.
behind me. What does it say right here? Ben Motorsports
Off-road.
off-road.
So you got to
off-road.
make this thing a race car and put it on a asphalt track.
off
That's what he's
road
saying. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
on the road.
for
Yeah.
sure. Big
So you
wing
gotta
on the
lower
back.
it.
of
Dirt
it.
track.
Dirt
Mhm.
track.
Ooh, figure 8.
So as of right now, obviously the truck is so long. It's an extended cab, long bed, which is the second longest version of that truck that you can get besides a crew cab long bed, obviously. So the plan for it is that I'm going to drive it as it is, save up some money, and then that's when it's going to get solid axle swapped. So I'm going to have an extended cab long bed solid axle 96 Chevy truck.
And then you're going to put 10 inches of lift on it so that you can wheel it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah!
I'm
All
hoping not.
right!
So at that point, it'd probably get coilovers. It'd probably get some sort of radius arm or like 3-link or 4-link.
We'll discuss that later, everybody.
we'll
what
get
you
into
should
that later.
choose.
And then the rear, obviously it being a long bed, it is it's a boat. So
Like a
the plan
10-foot
would be
bed.
some sort of like utility bed. I don't want to say camping setup, but like some sort of cool utility bed that I could throw some like jet skis on, take them down to the water. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking like long-term stuff. It'd be cool to like go out to the lake, throw a couple jet skis on the back of this thing and launch them right at the beach. And like, it's got all the utility. It's got strap boxes and like toolboxes built into it and air compressors and just like the all-around like Swiss Army knife truck. But it's also shorter. Like, I want the wheels to be like right behind the cab of this extended cab and cut like potentially 20 or 15 inches off the wheelbase of this thing.
So if you do that, if you put the wheels are just right behind the cab, this flatbed is going to be like 2 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah.
You can carry
For sure.
a jet ski.
He's
like
going to sleep
one
on
jet
it.
ski.
He's going to sleep on it
You're gonna put a little-
sideways.
You're going to put a little boom arm on it so you can just boom the jet
Ooh.
ski down into the water.
So it has provisions for a PTO, so I could hook it all up PTO style
Now we're getting
hydraulic,
serious.
right?
Nice.
Now this is
Yeah.
the real deal now.
That'd be sick. I love going to the hydraulic shop and making hoses. So
Yeah,
that's a
but which
good idea.
hydraulic shop would you go to?
Probably Parker.
Oh, liar.
A fine choice.
You're a dirty girl for Crown and you know it.
Yeah, I am. So anyway, that's the idea. I don't know, some sort of like half cage in the back, maybe like what would be like like a pre-runner bed cage, but still be able to have it utility like room and
That'd
I
be
don't know,
cool.
short course links, just good, stupid.
I love it.
It's got a
I
14
l-
bolt, so you're like pretty much
Ooh,
halfway there.
Exactly. You don't even need a truss.
You don't even need a truss.
Ian will say otherwise. Well, like, actually.
We
We know
love
you're
you.
smarty and
We
shit.
love you, Ian. You're just too smart for us. All right, so Jake, what about your solid axle swap Explorer that's still on the lift in the shop?
2 more weeks.
He said it was going to be done on Friday, right? But then
Next Friday.
I didn't listen to him. The original sentence was it will be done on a Friday.
Exactly.
So it's shame on me.
But no, next Friday is supposed to be the day because I got to drive up to Big Bear. So
Yeah, you're good at that. You love doing that with your projects, right? Like
always,
I'm gonna do a massive change on a vehicle, and then the day it's done, the shakedown run is literally driving it to where you're gonna off road it
in Big Bear.
in Big Bear.
We've all done it.
Why would you not, though? I mean, it's the ultimate shakedown run.
Are you gonna do John Bull
It's
by
within
yourself?
200 miles, so my AAA covers it. So shame on you.
You imagine having to get out of like, if you were to do a trail with it, like winch yourself like
Oh my
200 feet
God.
at a time, like through a trail,
That would suck ass.
just to get to the road to get towed.
That would be a bummer. But yeah, I mean, I'm maybe like 70% through this project, I'd say. Would you say that's a fair estimate?
Yeah, I would say so.
Maybe like 66%, like 2/3 of the way done.
66 is specific.
It's very well. No, it's not. It's just 2/3, man. I just need a bunch of reinforcing to be done, and then basically like that's my hurdles. Then it's just plumbing.
So now this will help transition us into what we're really supposed to be talking about, which is what lift you pick, right? So this is a good question for you because when you decided to solid axle swap the front end of your Explorer, you needed to decide what you were going to do. You went with radius arms. Other than the fact that we had a pair of radius arms that were available, what are the things that you were having to consider when deciding whether you were going to 4-link or do a radius arm?
I mean, most of it was packaging concerns. This wasn't it wasn't originally set up to have links underneath it, right? So the frame widths might be different from a Jeep JK, and I'm using a JK Dana 44 basically with no brackets on it, and I just wanted to start fresh from there, but there's so many things that are different or you can't fit, you might not be able to fit 4 links underneath it because the exhaust or the drive shaft or, the oil pan. There's so many considerations you have to make. So radius arms were a way for me to get the links underneath the frame rails and allow more space for my exhaust, which already was kind of a cluster. So that was biggest concern for me was packaging. I wish I
Right.
could have run a 3-link or a 4-link because I'd like to be able to dial in like the different suspension characteristics, and radius arms you kind of are like the easy, like, yeah, they're very functional, but they're just the easy way out, right? They're like the leaf springs of nowadays. There's one connection point on the frame and then a panner bar, and you're basically good to go. But I would have rather have done the rest of it and done an actual 4-link or a 3-link or something where I could adjust the dive and anti-dive and all the
Yeah, and
different
I think
characteristics. But that's shit that nobody cares about, man.
well, and
You're never gonna touch it.
it's stuff that like we see on the Ultra 4 buggy that's in the shop, right? If you start off with your own frame where you're building something from scratch, you can have double triangulated front and rear 4-links
Yeah.
and have not have to run track bars, right? It's all double triangulated. You get massive travel, and it's the perfect setup. Um, so to be able to get that perfect setup onto, say, a Jeep JK that's from the factory, where the companies that are making lift kits, I mean, they're not in the business of making chassis. They're in the business of making lift kits, right? So they've got to make a lift kit that you can essentially bolt on or do a little bit of, cutting and welding to weld it on. Luckily, Jeeps already come with a 4-link in the front. So, usually they're just adding on to that. But these are just things that, when people are out, when they come in our front door and ask us, what do I do? For the most part, we're looking at whatever's available on the market, right? Because I would say 99% of the people that come through our door don't want to spend the money to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And even though you're willing to do this work on your vehicle, you still had to concede and do radius arms.
Yeah.
Right?
Basically.
So so essentially when people come through the door, they want to run 35s and they want to know what lift they need. And it's different. If you got a TJ, a JK, a JL, it's all different, right? And we've put on a lot of different kits. And I don't know, there's some number, right? If you've got a TJ, you need 4 inches of lift or 4.5 or whatever to put 35s on. If you got a JK, you need like 2.5 inches or something. And if you got a JL, you need 1 inch or something dumb, right, to get a 35 on. But that's not really the whole story, right? The things that nobody thinks about or that always ends up being done later is things like drive lines, right? Those stock CV type goofy weird drive shafts. I forget what they call them on the JKs. We were talking to our driveline expert just a day ago, I think, and he was saying you lift it 1 inch or something and it changes that thing.
because everything's out of whack. Like you're gonna burn through that drive shaft in a couple thousand miles, basically.
Yeah, so it's why we've seen it, right? We've seen those drive shafts fail
All
over
the
and
time,
over and
every
over
single
again.
one.
Yeah, somebody comes in and they've got a little 1.5 inch or 1 inch donut Daystar donut lift, and their drive shafts are blown out, right? And as soon as you go up to a 35, your ball joints are now blown out, right? So
Yeah.
like every single vehicle that comes in here, those Jeeps, those are the things that we're constantly addressing and changing. But my opinion, people in general, there's very few people out there who are going to come in and throw down a big check and want to do everything all at once. Most people are going to let their Jeep evolve over time, right? That's the right way to do it.
Which is nothing wrong with that, really.
No. And it's the way most people do it. It's the way we all kind of do it, right? We build it over time. And sometimes you can build it where you're just getting into Jeeping, so it's a moderate build, and then you get more into Jeeping, and maybe the Jeep's maybe closer to being paid off, so you're willing to make a little more risk. So you build a little bigger, and then it's finally paid off, and then you go big, and you're not afraid to dent it anymore, right? There's this whole...
like you were committed to it at that point.
Right? There's a whole evolution of thought that happens as you own the Jeep and go through these stages. So the question is wherever you're going, whatever shop you're going to, or if you're doing it yourself, think it all the way through to the end, right? We've had so many Jeeps where people have found, Craigslist deals on takeoff arms and springs and all these things, and they end up spending a lot more money in the long run, I think, because they'll come in here and they're just tired of it. It's fine. They're finally over it. They want things fixed, and we find 14 different manufacturers' parts on the bottom of this Jeep, and say this manufacturer over here is not necessarily making sure that their product's going to work well with this manufacturer over here, right? So it does pay to kind of think your project all the way through from beginning to end of where you think you would want it to be one day, within reason, obviously, right? And try to stick with a brand, for the most part. Pick a brand and stick with it and use theirs and ask those brands, hey, if I buy your long arm kit now on 35s, or if I buy your short arm kit now, how much is it to do a long arm kit later?
Yeah.
What parts transfer over? Is it the same track bar on all your kits? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's the same track bar. The spring is just an inch different, so I'll have to buy springs. Or is it just a shock relocation, or is it an actual longer shock? But those are questions to ask the manufacturers: is how many other parts transfer over from the mild to wild kits?
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to save money because you're not going to be buying those parts twice.
Yeah.
Right. Some parts you will, but some parts you won't. But so talking about kits, like what are some things that you guys can think of that maybe you see a lot in the shop where you would want to warn somebody to steer away from a specific type of kit that you saw, or a specific design that you saw? I know Metal Cloak has their trick little radius arm that has the disconnect, the flex thing, like things like that. Like things like that. Did you guys see? Like, do you like the Terraflex Falcons, the ones that have the weird 90-degree deal off the back, or I mean, because when you look at the back of those, they hang off the back of the Jeep. When you put them on the rear, they're at the bottom.
Yeah.
And you've got to buy these massive skid plates for them. What are your thoughts on that? You guys have anything that jumps out in your mind that is just something that you look at every time and go, ugh, I don't like that? Other than that, when a JK rolls into the shop.
I don't know, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe, when the Mopar kits were a bigger thing, I guess, and they're just pricey. I think is why we don't see them more. But like Brian's kit was super easy to install. It was nice. It was very thought out.
And I believe those Mopar kits were made by Terraflex for Mopar.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they were nice. They were good kits. Now I feel like there's just so many. Like every year there's like another 10 brands that we have to deal with, and so many of them. You're just like, well, what's different about yours? Slight geometry change, if that. Like there's only so much you can do with the stock location, mounts. And so like Metal Cloak and stuff relocates them outside the frame or whatever they do. They have all their different brackets and shit. And that's cool. A lot of it works. I don't know. I haven't had enough experience. I've seen a couple guys now with that radius arm kit from Metal Cloak that has that disconnect on it. Maybe it does work. I don't know. Me personally, I'm so lazy. Like I feel like the people who buy those compression adjusters on their shocks, like they don't touch those. So why are they going to go down and put a wrench on a radius arm and adjust that? I think people are just lazy and they just want it to work. So they kind of.
Yeah, it's a different story if you got like a disconnect sway bar, right? Where you could just go out there and go clock and the thing disconnects and you're good, right? Like
Terraflex one's so nice.
Like that's one thing.
I do like that. I have that.
But if you got to go under there and like give that thing like 12 different turns just to get it to finally disengage, like I don't know. I'm not.
Is it? It might be easier than that. I don't know.
Could
but
be.
But
sure.
you know what? Like right now, right? I've just changed mine to coilovers, right?
Yeah.
And I've noticed a tremendous difference in the way my vehicle drives on the street. So at some point, you're going to get to an area where your vehicle doesn't drive down the street like it used to, right?
Yeah.
So I think what Metal Cloak is trying to do there is they're trying to say, look, you can run 37s and you can have a radius arm and it's going to be firm going down the street and you're going to have the control and it's going to feel nice driving down the highway. But when you get off road, if you're willing to take the time to loosen this bad boy up over here, now you're going to get that crazy cool articulation and flex you're looking for. Yeah. So I guess that's Metal Cloak's answer to the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
It's that's the other question, right? Somebody comes in and the first question we ask them is, what are you really going to do with your Jeep, right? Because we have different answers for people who, like Brian, who like to go fast. They want to rock crawl, but then between rock crawling, they want to haul
drive
ass.
like shit. I mean, you want to haul ass.
Yeah, they want to. Yeah, they want to drive like.
I'm just playing.
They want to go really fast. So he has a specific thing that he wants versus another guy like me who drives like an old man all the time. Yeah, I just drive slow forever, so I don't really need to go fast ever. So I'm going to build mine a little different as well. There's just a lot of choices out there, and I think when the conversation happens with the customer, that answers a lot of our questions where we're going to go, right?
Yeah.
It answers a lot of
With
questions.
with budget in mind too, right? Because if you go, yeah, I want to go fast through the desert, well, are you going to be willing to spend 10, 15 grand, right? Like, I'm sure you can do it for cheaper. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm sure there's a cheaper option, but like, if you really want to do it the right way and you want
If you want
coilovers,
longevity in your
yes,
vehicle,
exactly. Like, if you want to do it and you want to do it right, yeah, 10, 15, even 20 grand to make that thing go haul ass through the desert. But there's the other side of people that go, no, I just want it to be like a little bit more lifted. I just want that
Yeah.
little bit of 35. Like, I just want the 35s. Like bare minimum. You just want to squeak by and be able to run it. I think that's where a good kit, like, I'm a big fan of the Terraflex kits. I don't know why. I just feel like the ease of install is there. All the parts are quality. Like, I've never had an issue with their kit. And they sell one where it's just their fixed length arms are not adjustable, but you put in their springs, their shocks, their arms. It's all like real good quality. You know, like you just feel the quality. The powder coating's nice. It's not this like cheap looking powder coating. They have like these nice little brackets that they come with. All the like the brake lines and the ABS lines get their own little designated bracket that hangs off the shock tab. Like those little things where you can go bust out that job in a few hours. Like for us, at least, somebody in their driveway may take a little bit longer, but it's a total kit I would do in my driveway. You know, even if I had minimal tools, like it's easy. But you start getting these people that go, oh well, that kit's, you know, $13, $14, $1,500. There's a reason why it's that much. It's quality parts.
Yeah.
You go on Amazon and you go, I need JK arms or JK lift, and you get this Joe Schmo company from Taiwan or China, and all of a sudden all that stuff that you just spent hours of your day putting on, well, guess what? Next year you're changing it all out because it's all blown out.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
we've had that too here, right? Where we allow customers to bring in their own products. Not a lot of shops do that, but if you have a lift kit that you've purchased and you want us to put it on for you, we'll do it. There are some, obviously, there's no, if the kit doesn't work right, it's on you, not on me. But we have had some people come in with like some rough country stuff, right? Rough country, tough country. What are the other brands? There's a few other brands.
Rough country, tough country. I don't even know. There's a couple more.
But we
rough
go to
stuff.
rough stuff, yeah, whatever it is, right?
rough stuff
No,
makes
rough stuff
good
is
stuff.
good. Oh yeah, no, they actually make good stuff. But I think it's tough. Rough country is the worst one. But those come in and they the parts just don't fit.
Skyjacker. That's the other one.
Oh, Skyjacker back in the day used to be good, but
Yeah, I
back
don't
when you
know.
were lifting Toyotas and putting
It's the
42
only
shocks
thing
on the
out
back.
there.
But anyways, you get what you pay for, essentially, right? You pay more for a good kit. You're going to get a good kit that actually has some geometry and some engineering in it.
Yeah.
The other stuff is just it just doesn't work, and you end up paying more in the end because now you got to pay me to take it off and put a real one on. But the good thing is we'll tell you that when you get here with your bag of parts and we see it's rough country stuff, we're going to tell you and you can make a decision at that time.
But at the same time, I remember a guy with the donut lift in what is
Daystar don't.
an LJ, and he
Yeah,
did just fine out there for a long time.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I bolted those parts on real easy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what did I have? 31s or something, and I put little Daystar donuts on my springs, and then relocated my shocks a little
You
bit.
could do everything in Octavia Wells.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely can wheel on a budget. There's no question. That can be a whole nother podcast. But when you're trying to decide what you want to do with your Jeep right now, you just got to ask yourself the question: is this stage 1, stage 2, stage 3,
That's
stage
true.
4? Like where am I at? Where am I going to go with it? Am I just going to build this a little bit and then do I have a vehicle that's maybe a Sahara or a Sport or something that isn't really worth putting the big money into? Maybe I just lift it a little bit, go do some wheeling with my friends and get my feet wet, and then flip it and get a Rubicon.
Yeah.
Right?
With the resale market on these things, there's such a big market for them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're wasting your time. Like, if you have a bone stock Sahara and you want to put a lift on it, one, because you think it looks good, which I think everybody thinks the
it's
same
fine.
way, right? You want to put 35s on it, you put a 2.5-inch lift. It's a pretty cheap, alternative to going full blown. But at the end of the day, you go, you know what? I had my fun with this. Let's move on to the next one. Let's sell this off. You probably get a good amount of what you have into it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I know anybody that has negative equity into a Jeep, as in,
I might.
you're far, far, far negative. But as far as a situation like that, right? You have a Sahara. It's got a decent little lift on it, 35s. Like, if you go buy, I don't even know what would be comparable, a Nissan Altima or something like that. You're gonna have negative equity from the day you leave the lot to the day you finally sell it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? With the Jeep market, I don't think it's the same way. Same with Toyotas. Like, Toyotas are super hot right now. You can go buy one that's 20,000 miles on it. It's only $4,000 less than what you would have buy one new from the dealership with.
Yeah, the resale is for sure there.
So
So
I think
it just means put quality parts on them.
yeah, because the second you take it back to the dealership and they go, I don't know what these arms are. I don't know what this is. I don't, this thing drives like shit, because it probably does.
Yeah.
I think that's where it makes a difference. You put a good quality lift on there, all of a sudden the thing has good driving manners. Like, you could drive it every day without having an issue. It's like driving a stock Jeep, and we get it all the time where they have like these hodgepodge lifts on it, and you're like, dude, this thing drives terrible.
Yeah.
Every bit of it just drives terrible. And we always say it about the JKs. And don't get me wrong, there's some TJs that drive terrible too, but like, I don't know, for some reason the JKs drive just extra terrible. Like, I don't know.
I get it. I know.
Yeah, I think that if when you're looking for what you want, a good basic setup is, yes, 35. That's a standard tire size, right? It's a pretty standard size that you should shoot for. You should definitely not stress out too much about whether it's a long arm or a mid arm or a short arm. Regular short arm JK on 35s with a 2.5 or 3-inch lift will go just about anywhere. Yeah. Especially if it's the Rubicon and you got the 4-to-1 transfer case and you've got lockers. It's pretty much going to go anywhere. I mean, Brian did the Rubicon in his 2-door JK with short arms and 35s.
Yeah.
No
problem.
It was just a Mopar lift, wasn't it?
It was a Mopar lift, no problem. Went right through the Rubicon. So obviously they're super capable. So you don't have to spend a ton of money, and you don't have to go super crazy to get where you want to go. It like with mine, with the coilovers and the long arms and the radius arm conversion in the front and all that stuff, is just because I want to go through that same obstacle whilst holding a beverage, right? That's pretty much the only difference, right?
Yeah.
We're both
Yeah,
going to get
pretty
through the
much.
obstacle. I'm just going to not try as hard.
Yeah.
And then you get to the point where you build your vehicle so far that now it's boring, right? I mean, look at Ian when we went to John Bull. His vehicle drove through that like it was Interstate 5.
Yeah, seriously.
It was nothing for him, right? So he's got to go places that are absolutely off the charts difficult to even get a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like King of the Hammers stuff. Like, you have
Yeah.
to do the King of the Hammers course to go, yeah, that was some shit,
Yeah.
Like, we made it through
Yeah.
that.
So there's something to be said for leaving your vehicle at least moderately built so that you can go places that are easy to get to and you can still have the same amount of fun, right? So yeah, I just think you need to reflect on what you really are out to do when you're going to do a build on your Jeep. And obviously this gets into regearing too. I mean, if you've got a Rubicon and you got a 410 or 411, whatever it comes in those Rubicons, 410 or whatever,
Yeah.
then you're fine, right? You're good to go. If you've got the 373 version, or even the worst, what was the Saharas are 272s or so, 271 or
giants.
something?
291.
That's so crazy.
Something dumb.
It's like freeway flyer miles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
dude.
definitely want to get a regear, right? Because even with a 373, you
Or a
should regear it.
supercharger.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an option.
Yeah.
Because those things it's gonna be a little bit of a dog. We did find too that another upgrade that you want to look into is a big brake kit on a JK
Yeah.
when you get up to a 35-inch tire. They really, really, really don't like 35-inch tires. I don't know if maybe it's the 35-inch tire or it's just the wheels that our customer, when you get a real beadlock, they're a little
Yeah.
heavier. It's that heavy wheel and tire package together that really causes that. But
Like, what
Black
is
Magic makes a really good brake kit for them.
Yeah. What does a combo weigh? Like, a wheel and tire beadlock with a 35 on it. It's got to be.
Well, I'll tell you, because I just put those JK. I'm just got the rotors turned for the Explorer, which has a JK Dana 44, and I got the EBC like green goo special organic brake pads that are supposed to be good for 4x4s or something like that. So I don't know. We'll see.
See how they work?
We'll see how they work.
Yeah. But dude,
See if I can get away with not doing a big brake kit.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing I did on mine was the big brake kit from
That's
Black
right.
Magic.
But you throw another additional 50 pounds of rotating mass on each corner.
Hell yeah.
Like things aren't moving as fast as you want them to
Yeah.
move. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. What else do we? I mean, we drive shafts are always a problem.
The
Track
Panhard
bars,
bar, the Panhard bar bracket or track bar bracket
Yeah.
or whatever. On the axle side, I tend to notice that the OEM ones get ovaled out. So a lot of the people that have the brackets to relocate them don't have the issue, but on the ones that are stock, at least, maybe that was more of a TJ problem.
I think it's
Either
a
way,
JK
they get
problem
smoked.
too. The JK ones are pretty flimsy.
Are they just small bolts too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the
M10.
no, it's bigger than that. I think
M12?
it's like an M12 or M14.
Bullshit.
But it's just a tiny, like it's just flimsy. And
Yeah.
so realistically, it's probably, I'd say from previous jobs, it's probably a couple hours worth to have us cut off a track bar bracket and weld on a brand new one, and it's probably
Yeah.
worthwhile. You know, you go buy them from Artec for, I don't know, they're not even that expensive, maybe $80-$90.
Well, even some of the relocating ones that bolt on, they're not too bad. They at
No,
least
they're
get
sturdy.
more support points than just that one hole and
Yeah,
eliminate that problem, which is nice. Or you can weld a washer on there if you really like that position. But
yeah.
yeah.
JKs really love to smash the stock steering stabilizers.
That they
Oh,
for
they-
sure do.
They smoke those. They smoke
Yep.
the rear mufflers too.
And
Oh,
tie
yeah.
and front tie rods.
Yeah, tie rods
The
get
tie
they
rods
get
get-
wasted.
they get
Oh yeah,
wasted
there's
in
just
2
put one in the
seconds.
rafter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so things to think about: heavy duty front tie rod. Either be okay with your muffler getting smashed or get a skid for it.
Yeah.
Also the fuel tank skid on the JKs does a good job,
They
but
hold up.
but it smashes up and you lose fuel capacity by like a half a gallon or something, right? Because
The Rubicon one's nice, isn't it? Or it's still
I
smashes
think
up?
it's I think it's the
unless
same.
you're Brian, then you smash the living shit out
Dude,
of it.
It's got to be better than mine.
Yeah, I've seen a couple
It's
that
better
come
than
in here
yours.
where you just sit there and you go, dude, might be time to upgrade. You know, like it's so
Um,
far past where you should be.
Definitely when you get adjustable track bars. If whatever kit you're looking at doesn't come with adjustable track bars,
Oh yeah.
if it comes with a
Next.
relocation, like a geometry correction bracket, that's fine. But also buy an adjustable track bar front and rear.
Yeah.
It's the biggest problem, man, with those axles. You lift it up and the axles both shift, and your Jeep drives like shit. So,
Yeah, it's all
Um,
crab walking down the freeway.
and more than likely, like I said, your ball joints are probably smoked. If you go out to your JK tomorrow and check your ball joints, they're smoked. Get
what's
some
the lowest amount of miles we've seen on a JK that has smoked ball joints
1 mile.
from the factory?
I'll tell you. Once we get this thing dry, we'll do one voyage on that
See-
front end.
Here,
how
here's
far?
here's the deal. If you upgrade to 35-inch tires and go wheeling one time, your factory ball joints are no longer good.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
true.
that's the
you
fact.
go blast down a dirt road for
They're
10
done.
minutes, they're smoked. Like I think the legitimately the lowest I've seen, which I'm sure there's even lower than this, but like it was probably 40,000 miles,
Oh yeah, dude.
and they were smoked.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. It
Well,
kills
because-
them.
Oh yeah, off-roading is aggressive, and then when you put a bigger tire on, you're putting a lot more pressure on them, and that's what gives out.
Yeah.
But TerraFlex makes a really nice chromoly one that has an adjustment on it, so that as
You
they
know what?
wear,
I
you can
actually
tighten them
found
up.
yesterday or today was Curry makes ends that are rebuildable. So it's a forged end, right? But it just has a hole where the ball joint or the actual tie rod, like, ball sits. There's just a hole there. And it's a threaded cartridge. And they have these rebuildable ends that go into it. So
Oh,
it's all
that's rad.
fancy and forged and super strong and rebuildable. So
And this is a tie rod, not the ball joint, right?
this is the tie rod end. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I did venture away from ball joints.
Yeah,
but
no, I'm just making sure.
But that's
everybody's
still
on the
cool.
same
Yeah.
page.
That's the cool product.
Yeah.
You
So
should try those out.
the TerraFlex ball joints, like actually on the axle, those ones have the upper ball joint. All it does is telescope. It goes up or down, right? There's no other movement with that thing. It shouldn't go side to side.
Well, it
shouldn't
rotates.
wobble. It
Rotates.
rotates. So
That's
the
movement.
yeah, it is. So the lower one has like 3 set screws, and then you loosen those, and it has like a adjustable nut on the bottom of it that you could actually like preload it more. And that way, when it does go out of slop, you just undo those set screws, tighten it up a little bit, tighten them back down, and now they're good as new. You don't have to press anything out. You don't have to take your knuckles off. You don't have to do anything.
So
Right.
what I want to know now is we have one Rubicon trip on those.
Yeah. So how many cycles can we get before they become junk?
Yes, and now especially with 37s, is
Yeah.
37s going to become an issue? I know there are a couple other companies out there that make a real nice, $400 or $500, billet
Yeah.
fucking ball joint that you can buy next. But I'm just curious.
But for the everyday purchaser, we need to. Yeah, we'll get some good real world
We need
intel.
We need everything from like the O'Reilly special, which is probably I don't know. I'd say you're
You know
looking
what's-
at $100 for ball joints, right?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the dumb thing, right? I look up ball joints at O'Reilly, for a customer because they don't want to spend the money on the Terraflex ones, and then I look at it and I go, "Look, man, the Terraflex ones are just the same price."
Yeah.
Or
Unless you go to
is
Rock
it that
Auto.
similar?
No,
Yeah.
unless you go to Rock Auto.
Well, unless you
Yeah,
go to
then
Rock
it's like
Auto,
dirt,
yeah.
dirt cheap.
But you can still get Moog, which is probably the best of the
Aftermarket.
aftermarket brands that aren't like upgraded.
Yeah.
I'd say it's definitely Moog, and even those you can get them for a good price, but I think they're $40-$50 a piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you want to? Yeah, $40 or $50 a piece, right? So
Yeah, and how
$100 a
much-
side?
Yeah,
It's $200.
versus the 400.
300. I think it's $300 for the Terraflex ones. I think it's
Yeah.
$290
Okay.
without tax, obviously. But the funny part is like you go to install them. It's a time-intensive job, right?
Yeah, if
like,
you don't have the tools, it sucks ass.
Yeah,
if
it does.
if anybody out there's ever done a ball joint, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah. And so you go get the cheap ones because you want to save $100 maybe, and then well, guess what? You just spent $400 or $500 to have them installed, and now in another year you're gonna have to do that all over again.
Yeah.
because
Or
you
depending
didn't
on
wanna-
Or depending on how much you wheel, it could
yeah,
be 6
it could,
months.
It could be 6 months.
Or you're gonna
you
waste
know?
some tires too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tires are not
Yeah.
cheap. Tires get wasted.
And I feel like that's one of the telltale signs of like bad parts on a lift is like immediately you'll see the front tires start cupping.
Yeah.
Like that should be your first indication. Like one, you obviously feel that it's kind of sloppy steering, and like
Yeah.
it doesn't drive the same. And a lot of people just say no, it's just a Jeep. It's just how it drives. No, it's not. Like
Yeah.
you can literally. I was going down the freeway the other day and I was obviously bored because I was doing this, but I was going like 80, 85 miles an hour, and I was on like a dead straight part going through Camp Pendleton, and I'd take my hands off the wheel and I'd see how long it would be until I was in like not in the next lane, but like starting to
Yeah.
go into the next lane. And I counted all the way up to like 10 seconds, and I'm going like 80, 85 miles an hour doing this, It's like for that thing to stay in a lane for 10 whole seconds, like that's pretty good, you
Yeah.
know? And like I think I've done a good job at keeping the thing well maintained, and it's like I don't see why any other Jeep could do that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we drove my Jeep to Oceanside a couple days ago,
Mhm.
and Jake was with me, and I was telling him, "Look, I'm going down the freeway, and I'm holding the steering wheel with my thumb and my pointer finger at the bottom of the wheel, just holding it, and I've got no rear sway bar, I've got no steering stabilizer, and I've got 37s, and I got coilovers on all four corners."
Get the Karens out there. That's dangerous.
And it was just driving straight down the road because everything is on point, right? Keep
Yeah.
all your parts on point and set it up correctly, and it's gonna be fine. So you can drive down the street. Now let's jump in real quick. Let's jump into this next thing that I'm gonna forget if I don't say it. Is that when you lift it, that front pinion angle on the JKs
It's terrible.
is horrendous,
Always terrible.
and you lose all your caster.
Yeah.
So it's a big problem with lifting those JKs high. Is you're gonna lose those things.
Which is funny because those are high pinion from the factory, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys with TJs in the front are low pinion, which is why people get XJ Dana 30s and put them in, well, obviously regular TJs, not Rubicons. But there's a reason why people with TJs go to XJ axles because they're high pinion. It's easier to get a good angle. You're not as low. It gets the drive shaft out of the rocks and stuff. But for some reason with the JKs, what they call I'm probably going to be wrong with this, but it's like the overlap angle or the offset angle of your caster opposed to your actual like pinion angle.
Right.
And I don't know what it is. It's just not a big enough angle, And so no matter what, every time you lift these things, you're always fighting. Well, I want to give it a little more pinion angle to make the drive line nice, but you can't do that because then you lose caster and the thing drives terrible.
It's like 4
Yeah.
degrees, right? Like if you could do like
Yeah.
a 4-degree cut and turn, that's what you'd need.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that's the answer, right? The answer is to do a cut and turn and correct the problem.
You just gotta grind for 6 hours at home and
Yeah.
cry a little bit and get.
We'll
bigger
do it for you.
Cs. Yeah,
We'll do it
exactly.
for you. We'll cry for you.
We love grinding.
I love crying.
But no, a lot of people don't
grinding.
want to. A lot of people don't want to put the time and effort and money into doing that. So
Until they waste their first drive shaft.
yeah, and then so now we're playing the concession game of, well, you're gonna have a vibration because your drive shaft's gonna vibrate, or you're gonna, you know, back in the old days, you just got the locking hubs and you
Yeah,
just
you turn them off.
you
and
turn them
everything's
off
good.
and nothing rotates and
Yeah.
you're until you're off road and where it doesn't matter because you're going slow. But yeah, so that's another thing to think about. You lift your Jeep and it's never gonna drive the way it drove before unless you put the time and effort into fixing all of the geometry.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, there's not a kit out there that you can buy off the shelf that fixes all of the geometry and takes care of all the problems. There's just not. They're
Yeah,
all
I think
they all do a good
that's
job,
a pretty fair statement.
right? They all do a good job, and there's some that are better than others, but not. I don't think there's one out there that we've ever put on where everything came in the same box and it just solved all the problems. It just doesn't.
No.
So what did we answer? I don't know. I don't know.
There's a lot
Every-
of good info, but you got to pick
yeah.
it for yourself.
Yeah, everything is different. Every situation is different. Everybody's plan for their Jeep is different. But you can always email us, and I'll write you back and tell you exactly what I think you should do.
Let's go part for part. Like your hands down best lift that you would put on,
Ooh.
like company
Ooh.
and
Okay, so we have to say then what best lift for what? Just getting the Jeep on 35s?
just to get a Jeep on 35s.
Bang for your buck or best quality?
If you had to buy it right now, what would it be?
If I had a JK,
Could be a little bit of both. You could go, yeah, I didn't want to go full out. I just wanted like a good medium average.
Well, like you said earlier, the Terraflex stuff seems to work every time. But if I didn't want to go with a bolt-on setup and I wanted something that was a mid-arm, I'd probably go Evo.
Yeah.
Because
Evo
they're a
makes
lot of work, but they're really well thought out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like where they put their control arms on the frame. And I gotta admit too. You know what? I gotta be honest. I don't have anything wrong. I don't have anything wrong with the Rubicon Express long arm kits. You get a Rubicon Express long arm kit, I don't have any problem with them.
I don't think I've ever seen one on a JK, but I know on the TJ, I'm super happy with mine. I'm sure the geometry is not perfect, but
That one we put on on Ken's JL was nice.
Dude, that one that's on Ken's JL is gorgeous.
dude, that's
Yeah.
a,
And
that's
we
a
wheeled
rad
it.
kit.
We wheeled it this weekend,
Yeah.
and it's nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice. So I would say bang for your buck, long arm, Rubicon Express.
Yeah.
If you've got a little more money in your pocket and you want to throw some coilovers under there, then go Evo, because that'll give you your coilovers and your. I don't know, on the JKs they're not really a long arm, are they? They're more like a mid arm. The Evo kit.
I don't know.
They're decent. They're decently long. I mean, they're not as long as like your LJ kit, but I think your LJ kit's like one of the longer ones. And like you look at Ken's JL, and those arms are ginormous.
Yeah, they're pretty
super
big.
long.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, this is the Rubicon Express one, but I don't think they're the same on the Evo
No,
one.
you're right. You're
No.
right.
But either way, that those are probably my two picks just right out of the gate.
Yeah. What do you think?
If I had to pick,
God, I don't even know.
There's a lot to choose from. I think
So many to
it's,
choose
it's
from.
it's really difficult. I think if I had to choose one, it'd probably be between Terraflex or Rubicon Express. Like if I was the average dude trying to do something in my garage, like Terraflex for sure. I know like for the TJs, the Rubicon Express one requires like a lot of drilling holes in the frame. You
Yeah.
know, so like that would deter me away from that. But that's also a long arm kit. Like
yeah,
you want a good, you can bolt it on and off in your garage in the matter of, well, not in your garage because then you could potentially not get it out. But but you know what I mean? Like if you had to do this in your driveway, I'd say Terraflex is probably the way to go.
there's by far have the best instructions too, as far as we've had some install kits that show up and the instructions are horrendous. So
What if my car doesn't fit in the garage? I didn't even think about that. Fuck. I'm
You're
gonna have to
screwed.
lower it.
Because the other thing too is like that Terraflex kit, you can get their, I forget what they categorize them as, like their Summit kit or their Alpine kit or whatever. But like their baseline kit, it comes with 4 upper control arms total, or 4 control arms total, 2 for the front, 2 for the rear, and that just corrects the pinion angles. But later on down the line, you go, you know what? These stock arms are just, they're not doing it for me. I want to ditch these. Then you upgrade to their full arm kit.
Yeah, and that goes back to you're not buying parts twice because the other arms work with the arms you already bought.
Exactly. So you can get a whole
do
nother
it
set
in-
of arms.
yeah.
You can get
You do it in stages. No, I think that's pretty good. I don't think you guys think of anything we missed. I'm sure we missed a bunch.
What about arm build? Because there's arms that just have bushings. There's arms that have Heims. There's arms that have Johnny joints.
You know what? I noticed a couple of kits or people who are piecing together their own kits. We were having issues with the sway bar, like when they would disconnect it or they would just flex out. It would overextend and then allow it to kick back into reverse.
Yeah.
So they were having issues with that shit, getting all locked up. So correcting your sway bar links depending on your lift size is always a good idea. Just think about that.
Yeah. Try to flex it out somewhere so that you can see if it's gonna flip back on itself.
Yeah, wiring for the differentials. Try to articulate your stuff or cycle it as much as you can so you can make sure that all your hoses, brake lines, and wires aren't pulling on.
That's a good point. All the diff breathers and
Sometimes the e-brake cables in the back.
Oh yeah,
they get a little
that's true.
funky.
Yeah.
It's stuff that you don't realize until you go off road and you hear something go, just snap, and
we're lucky. We have a ramp here that we can drive them up, or we have a forklift that we can grab and flex it, which makes it easy for us. But yeah, got to think about how we used to do it back in the day, and
it's a pain in the ass.
Go find a wall at a grocery store to try to climb up and see what it does.
Yeah. Ask as many of your friends as possible to sit in the back of the truck to get it to slam out.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, hopefully we covered it enough for you. And again, thanks, Tim, for the idea. Keep shooting us information on what you guys want to hear about, and we'll for sure talk about it. One thing we definitely have is an opinion. So
yeah,
no shortage there.
No shortage of that. So I guess the next podcast, maybe we'll be able to give you an update on Jake driving his solid axle Explorer around and see if he makes it up to Big Bear and what he does. And then hopefully we'll get my Jeep out there and we can see if it was all worth it or not.
Yeah.
And now we've got Jake with his diesel truck so he can tow us back when we break shit.
Yay.
Exactly. Support.
He's part of the support team. Right on. All right, well, talk to you guys later. We'll see you next time.
This has been the Bent Motorsports Podcast. Thanks for listening in. Be sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Bent Motorsports. Stay updated on the latest happenings, future projects, videos, and events here at the shop. Remember, guys, at Bent Motorsports, bids in stock, we've got it.